The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, where a bunch of powerhouse men and women get together to talk about love, sex, relationships, and what it takes to be amazing on the daily. Who I am CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com. I help hardworking women and couples who have survived abuse be vibrant, alive, magnetic, and passionate while creating healthy, intimate relationships. And I'm coming to you live from Metro Podcast Studios, which I love very much. It's near the Flatiron Building. The people here are amazing. If you want to do a podcast, you have to come to Metro Studios. My wonderful Avon is doing the sound engineering tonight with us as usual. And tonight we're going to be talking about healing our relationships with mom for the sake of our love life. And we're going to be talking about using the Imago therapy with my beautiful guest, who I'm going to introduce you to in a couple minutes. But first, happy Monday, everybody. It's a beautiful Monday in New York City. It was gorgeous today. The summer's trying to come back. I don't know about you guys. I feel like the summer can stay as long as it wants to, especially now that I don't have hair. I don't have any insulation to kind of keep me warm. So I love that the sun is still staying out and it's still keeping us nice and warm. So you are maybe listening to Armed Radio on your smart device with the TuneIn app, or you're listening in the garden on armedradioglobal.com. We're also on iHeartRadio, so don't forget to follow us and download your favorite shows. And for the streamers, we're also available on Spotify and Spreaker. Or maybe you're live with us here on the Facebook. So far, I have Shanton, I have Emmy. Anybody else who wants to come in and join our conversation, you know that you're always welcome. And also, if you're here on the Facebook or if you're live on social media, I definitely want you to join the group, Ask for Candy, the podcast, or Armed Radio Group News. And Armed Radio is great because they have a whole bunch of podcasts about a whole bunch of different things. And if you're shy, you can email me at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, I want you here and in the conversation. And hello to all the listeners out there on Armed Radio Global. So this is the time where we take a moment to share before we begin. My guest tonight, Dr. Nataliyah, who I'm going to introduce you to in a moment. You also, Doctor, I know that you said that you're going to share later on. You're going to share this on your page. You're going to decide, right? Yes. Based on, yeah. Based on my disclosure. Right? Is it a family sharing or is it a professional sharing? That's something that my guests have to think about because, you know, you come on and you don't know who. We're going to have an in-depth conversation tonight. So we'll figure that out. Right now, I'm sharing to the group Ask for Candy, the podcast. And I'm also sharing to my business page. And you guys out there, I see Errol. Hi, Errol, who just joined. You guys can share wherever you like to as well. Hold on. Let me just get it to my business page. All right. I know it's like dead air while we share. But you know what? It's what we have to do. I'm doing what I must do. It's part of this new age of living in a social media world. Share on a page you manage. So then, as soon as I'm done sharing right now, post, hi D'Angelo, my love, who just joined. It's time to introduce you. First, let me just say, for anybody who's new, like I said, I'm CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth, and my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. And that is why this is a conversation. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating or relationship rules or rights and wrongs. We're not here to shame your love situation. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. So tonight and every Monday night, we're going to do what we do, which is have conversations that engage, educate, and or enlighten all of us in the areas of love, sex, relationships, and vibrating high. And tonight, my special guest, and I'm going to say your name wrong, I know. Now, actually, I'm going to say it right. Let me just put it out there in the ethers. that I'm going to say it right. Dr. Nataliyah Rusetskaya? Rusetskaya. I love Russian. The only thing I feel like I don't have a good Russian accent. The only thing I feel like I say well is vodka.
Yes. No accent.
Right? Which that says a lot, right? So let me tell the people a little bit about you. So Dr. Rusetskaya is a clinical sexologist with a doctorate degree from AACS and a New York State and New Jersey State licensed clinical social worker with a master's degree from Fordham University. Also a certified Imago, I said that right?
Yes.
Certified Imago couples therapist. Additionally, over the past 5 years, Dr. Rusetskaya, because I've been saying it Rusetskaya all for the last 3 days, ever since I booked you. So now I got to get used to the new way.
I'm doing it.
Right?
Yeah.
Dr. Rusetskaya has been mentored by Esther Perel concerning her work with couples. She assists her clients with developing healthier, more fulfilling, and satisfying relationships by finding the key to connection and conflict resolution. We love that. She uses Imago therapy, the Imago therapy approach created by Dr. Harville Hendricks with elements of EFT and sex therapy. And currently, the good doctor works with individuals and couples to create a therapeutic alliance of trust and safety, to gain better insights about their life challenges, and to assist the clients in reaching their goals and connect better with their loved ones through improved communication patterns and increased intimacy. Yay! I love that, right? So from now on, for the rest of the show, you're going to be Dr. Nataliyah.
Sure.
Even though I've got Rusetskaya in my head, you're still going to be Dr. Nataliyah. Is that okay? Yes. Hi, Montgomery, who just joined us. So say hello to the people, Dr. Nataliyah.
Good evening. It's very exciting to be here in the studio with you tonight.
Yay!
Yes. And very unusual topic for me. I never really spoke, especially publicly like this, in English language about my mom, relationship with my mom, but let's do it.
You ready to go? You feel good? You feel comfortable?
Yeah.
Well, for a public forum, this is probably the safest, most public forum that you're going to find, because we do have a lot of our people who interact and watch are very nice people who also like to share. So if that gives you any sort of, comfort.
Sure.
Yeah?
Let's try.
Oh, good. Okay, so tonight I really want to dive into this Imago therapy, because I've never heard of it before. So I'd love to learn about it and also learn, who it's best suited for, and, how it can help people with healing the mother-daughter relationship. But those of you who've been listening know that that's the theme right now. We're talking about what, different modalities and different possibilities for how to heal the mother-daughter relationship. And I kind of want to dive into the therapy first, and then we'll sort of, let the conversation flow, and, whatever you want to talk about as far as your own experiences with the mother-daughter relationship, we'll get into that too.
Sure.
Yeah? You ready? You game?
Yes, I am.
I love it. So my very first question, if you could kind of, you don't have to nutshell it, but what's your overall explanation for Imago therapy in general as a modality?
Oh, well, I learned it about 10 years ago, and since then it became my primarily method that I use working with couples, and whether I'm dealing with any type of sexually related issues or just pure the quality of the relationship, communication skills, how they resolve their differences, pretty much any complex, difficult topic we need to verbalize, to process, to dissect it together. I can do it using the specific structure of the dialogue. It's been incredibly helpful and effective.
Yeah. Now, is it more neurolinguistic? Is it like drama therapy? What is the sort of basic gist of it?
Oh, well, it's not drama therapy. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, but it has elements of a few different methods that Dr. Harville Hendricks put together about 30 years ago.
Okay.
And how he developed it with his wife, Helen, they worked with multiple couples, and whatever methods they were using those years, nothing was really very effective.
Right.
And they figured out that it was super important for people who represent a couple, and couple, it could be actually anybody not necessarily romantic even partners, like any two adults in a business relationship, in a loving relationship. It could be adult daughter and mother, adult son and father, anybody. It was very important for the partner who is expressing his or her frustration to really be heard fully and to be validated by another person, in a sense that whatever let's say if I'm telling you something about my pain, about my frustration, it's important, let's say, if I'm expressing it, for me to hear from my partner that I do make sense, that I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
That type of validation. And that's what they started adding to the whole structure of the dialogue, how to teach people to not necessarily agree or disagree with another person's experience that, you're hearing, but to really see and understand what makes sense to you. And then it also teaches the skill of empathy. And it shows how not to become defensive in this whole process of speaking about something painful and expressing something painful to your partner. So it teaches like very helpful skills that people can actually, who really are motivated, they can grasp them. I give them different handouts. I give them the steps, the structure, and they can take it home and practice. And it actually can show very good results. You don't have to fight always to achieve something, to get something what you want. If you have this art of the dialogue mastered, then it could be much smoother, and even things that you maybe never said to your mom, being a little girl, being in this more like adult relationship with your mom and approaching her a certain way, it can really help the mom or the dad, like any parent, like also to open up and to hear you fully and to start accepting your point of view and start healing those old relationship wounds.
Yeah. It sounds like you're inspiring some level of active listening, which I feel like is a commodity.
Totally.
Right? So if you can give us like a piece of what actually can trigger something like that in a person, because I know that through coaching, one of the biggest things is coachability, right? That ability to hear and listen and apply. And it's very difficult as humans because we always feel like we already know everything, especially about the people we're in relationship with, right? So if you say, you ask someone a question about, let's say, things with your mother, what if you were to apologize to her? Oftentimes, someone who's had a traumatic relationship with their mother might be like, oh no, she would never. Like, if I apologized, it wouldn't matter because she would never accept that because I already know everything about her, right? I think I do. So how does it sort of trigger, I know you mentioned about inspiring empathy, but how does it sort of trigger people to understand how important that active listening is and how to actually apply it and do it?
Well, I show to them when they come for couples therapy with their current adult partner, and that's what they can either take from the sessions and use that skill with their own parent, or if we're lucky enough, sometimes we do have this opportunity to bring the mom into the room as well with the adult child or the adult daughter, let's say in this case. Sometimes I even have this like mother-daughter sessions when moms come from abroad. Sometimes once a year to the United States to visit the adult child. Sometimes twice. And if mom is open enough to give it a try, and if we present it like, if the mom agrees, it's really going to help the daughter. So then the mom is usually more open to come in, and then we show her, the new way to speak up about certain things, painful things, and she sees the result of that pretty much immediately in session, and then it will be up to the mom kind of to learn how to start incorporating it more with the adult daughter or not, because it will be her conscious decision at that point.
Have you ever had a situation, because I think about, I always talk about my relationship with my mom, who I absolutely love and adore, but definitely over the years, any sort of encounter, she and I have never gone to therapy together, but I know that she has on her own, I have on my own. But I also know that my mom is so masterful and was always able to sort of outwit any therapists and rarely stayed with them for very long. Have you ever had a situation where your client was, especially in the mother-daughter realm, where your client was so resistant to the process and just
Yes, but I usually somehow could melt them enough to for them kind of to start like buying into what I'm kind of doing because they see changes in their daughters sometimes and how the daughter starts relating to the mom even before they come to the session, and they're like, how is that happening? So let me like maybe see it with my own eyes. And they come in, and usually like in a couple of sessions I can establish pretty good alliance with the mom, and then she's more workable.
I mean, that's huge to be able to do that. You know, I feel like myself included, a lot of us out here, we can be very hard-headed when it comes to changing how we see things and how we believe, you know, about each other, especially in rocky relationships. Yeah, that's God's work you're doing there, honey.
Yes, that is beautiful. You know, that I know like it's not happening like I'm not like taking through the recovery thousands of mothers and daughters like at this point, but I feel like even if it happens, you know, from time to time when we can bring on board some parents, it's very valuable. How they are then still in the role of parents, how they are in the role of grandparents. You know,
which is so different. I feel like. Do you feel like it's very common that you know, by the time a parent is a grandparent, that's the best of their parenting. They're so wonderful when they go when they become grandparents, right?
They figured out more things,
right? They become, and to their own children, they become unrecognizable. Like, where was she when I was 5 years old? Right?
I was not getting that myself.
Right? No, absolutely. So tell me, as far as the Imago therapy, is it more like a talk therapy? Like, who do you feel like it's best suited for?
I think it's pretty much suited for anybody who is motivated to do things differently, either instead of sweeping things under the rug or instead of it being explosive. Like it really teaches you how to approach a subject. I mean, I could give you an example.
Please
how it works. For example, one of the like very basic skills I tell people they have to remember and to start applying when they start working with me is like for couples therapy reasons. I say, like, you know, if you want to discuss something, right, you really need to be able to put in one sentence the topic, what do you want to discuss with your partner? And then you approach him or her and you say, you know, I really want to speak to you right now about, I don't know, about what happened to me in my childhood and gave me a lot of pain when I was age 6. And let's say if you approach your mom with that, and let's say if she's like tired or feeling not in mood or in the middle of watching her favorite soap opera or whatever, she is still not going to hear you. The same way maybe she was not able to hear you when you were 6 when this stuff happened. So it needs to be a good, appropriate time when people are rested, when people are open. And let's say if the mom says like, no, like I can't, like it's too sensitive, I can't talk about it right now, then you can say, so when? So kind of, it's still your business. Try to reschedule it. Okay, maybe like Sunday morning when we're all kind of more rested, we could sit down and have this discussion or something like this. And, you know, and they teach people how not to use criticism, how to not blame each other, not to put labels on each other's behaviors. And kind of it helps to avoid building the like walls that are unpenetratable. Like it opens up the conversation.
I love that word unpenetrable because I feel like that's what blame causes, right? That finger pointing thing that happens. If you didn't do this to me, if you didn't speak to me that way, I wouldn't be this way. It's very like, it challenges the healing. It stops the healing, I think.
And let's say if parent is not available, then I could still use, it's a special dialogue in Imago therapy. It's called parent-child dialogue. It has also very specific structure with specific sentence stems. So I give people beginnings of the sentences and they have to complete them. And they have to do it in the present tense as if the stuff would be happening right now to them, not many years ago. And it kind of, it plays out more like it's really happening for real, and they could really evoke those old feelings and verbalize them. And the partner who plays the role of the father or the mother in this parent-child dialogue, he or she really understands much more where this old issue is coming from and how it plays out actually in this adult relationship. Often it happens, and it gives better understanding. And after the dialogue is finished with imaginary parent, then the partner who played the imaginary parent, he says or she says, I'm not your parent anymore, I'm your partner. So what can I do for you now in this relationship?
I like that.
And then we'll figure out, what could be healing as of now.
Yeah, I absolutely like that, because I feel like that's sort of the crux of it all, right? Like being able to make that transition from showing up in your relationships having chosen your parent or mirroring your parent's behavior, right? I feel like that's where a lot of us veer off and sabotage our relationships, right?
Totally.
Yeah. You know, they always say that you marry your father, you marry your mother, or, which I have a theory about that when it comes to the mother-daughter relationship, because I very much feel like, we are mirrors of our mothers in a lot of ways. And a lot of times it's not necessarily that we're looking for our father. It's that we're picking in the way that our mother did, or we're attracted to what our mother, oftentimes, we can't, speaking very generally about it. And I think a lot of times that being able to make that transition from understanding that your parental relationship was one thing.
Yes.
And that now your adult partnerships need to be something different.
Definitely. But also, like in Imago therapy, we believe that we get attracted when we choose a romantic partner. We get attracted to somebody who has both often positive and negative traits, positive and negative characteristics of both primary caretakers.
Yeah.
So it could be both from mom and from dad, or if grandma was raising you, you could choose somebody for yourself as your life partner who is similar to the grandma.
Yeah.
And first we see just the good qualities, we fall in love with them, and then we see the bad qualities later on. But you're already on the hook, you're already in love.
Right. In love, and also I feel like too, when there was a lot of bad qualities or any bad qualities, it's familiar, right? It's family, so we're used to it.
Totally.
You can get very comfortable with a lot of abuse sometimes.
Yeah, or if somebody had like mom who was very depressed or bipolar or whatever, you'll be craving to have something like this, like for going back home, right?
Yeah, no, that totally.
Choose an adult partner with similar mental health issues.
Is there some way that we can? I know we didn't pre-rehearse any of this or anything, because I was telling Nataliyah that I really like to do it off the cuff. But with the sentence prompting, is that something that we could sort of impromptu do in some way?
I think we could. You maybe even I could show you a little bit of the parent-child dialogue.
Yeah.
Let me get this.
Nataliyah's going to grab something out of her magic bag of therapy.
Let's see.
In the meantime, I want to say hi to Sharon. Hi, Dr. Sharon. She was on the show before. And Xavier and Maurizio and Vincent, welcome you guys. You guys are welcome to talk to us. Shanton says, 2 gorgeous women. Thank you, Shanton. That's very sweet, honey. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have something for us, Dr. Nataliyah?
So I'm just thinking, how to really implement it as now at this moment. Because, we could try, but
let's try. So I'm game. So because I
okay.
like doing anything. So.
Okay. So do you want me? Let's say I will play your parent. Right now. So do you want me to play your mom or your dad?
Oh.
We'll try for a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Do my mom.
Not to go too deep into that. So I'll be your mom. Okay.
We can go there. You do my mom.
So, and I will start sentences myself as your mom.
Okay.
Asking you certain questions, and then I will be giving you sentence stems, those prompts.
Okay.
And you'll continue as the daughter. So what age would you like to be in this mini dialogue?
Oh, wow.
I would like it to be childhood before teenagerhood.
Before teenagerhood?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say 10.
Okay, 10. And
I'm just shooting that arbitrarily. Yeah.
Okay. Is there something that maybe happened at age 10 that you maybe kind of didn't really express to your mom, that was unpleasant, that was difficult, that was hard? So, you could pretend, something.
I can't necessarily pinpoint at exactly 10 years old, but I do think around that time of my life, I feel like my mom was an oversharer. Mm-hmm. And so there was too much of things with her relationship with my father.
Okay, so don't tell me now. I'm gonna do it through the dialogue. So you're gonna tell me otherwise, okay?
Okay.
So I'm gonna be a mom, and we're speaking in the present tense.
Uh-huh.
And you have to use the language of a 10-year-old girl, not super sophisticated language that you're using right now.
My 10-year-old language.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna take myself back.
Yeah. So I am your mom.
Okay.
What it's like living with me. And then the sentence stem for you would be living with your mom is, and you can tell me as if I would be your mom.
This is deep.
That's what you wanted.
Right? Okay. So
we'll do maybe just a couple of
it's
phrases.
okay. It's good. It's good. Living with you, mom, is it's hard, scary sometimes, sometimes fun, but a lot of times I feel like I know things I shouldn't know.
What's your deepest hurt with me? Deepest hurt, like painful point. Oh, you can say my deepest hurt with you, mom, is.
My deepest hurt with you is. It's so hard to do it as the 10-year-old.
Yeah.
My deepest hurt with you is how hard you are on me. How much you tell me that I'm not doing things right. And just feeling like I have to help you.
Yeah. So what do you do when I hurt you that way? When I hurt you this way, mom, when you hurt me. I'm getting confused.
When you hurt me this way, I feel sad. I take it out on my little sister. I get mad at you. Yeah, I stay alone. I stay by myself as much as I can. Yeah. You're going to make me cry, Dr. Nataliyah.
So we can stop now.
It's okay. It's okay. We do that on this show.
And you kind of, and if you really kind of stay in that role, and it takes about 45 minutes, at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes to do the full round of the dialogue, then yes, and people do cry, it causes a lot of deep feelings, and it's important also kind of try kind of not to giggle, to really kind of stay in that mode, and it really could evoke those like forgotten old
I can totally see how it's effective though.
Feelings. So, and one of the like next sentence stems here, as your mom, what do you need from me most that I don't give you? And here you're trying to identify that. Maybe what we just
and that I'd have to start with what I need most that you don't give me.
What you need from me most is.
See, here's what's challenging with that, because as the 10-year-old, what I would say is encouragement. And
so you can say like I need you to support me.
So I need you to support me. I need you to tell me that I'm good enough. You know, as an adult, I realized that I experienced that with her older. But as the 10-year-old, I hadn't experienced that with her.
And you probably wouldn't even say that to tell me that I'm good enough, right? Just to support me and to maybe to give me compliments or to praise me, to see whatever good job I'm doing, right? Like that would be more of the language.
Now I actually at 10, I probably would be like, I need you to give me some treats or something nice. Or tell me something nice.
Tell me something nice.
Or
when I do something good or whatever, right? And then the kind of we connect it to adult relationship and so on and so forth. So,
I can totally see how that's effective. Because I feel like it comes down to what I think is the most important thing about healing, which is presence, and like getting present to whatever it is.
And to really kind of have a different experience. Let's say if your mom never really sat with you and really gave you that gift of active listening. So here, like your partner who plays that role really is kind of forced into really providing it for you, and you're having a different experience that you maybe never had with your parent before.
And I love, because you mentioned this earlier, it also, I could see how it then triggers that empathy thing with your partner that you were talking about.
Because then the partner gets to see like, oh, now I understand why you need the constant kind of maybe praise from me or a reminder that you're very good in this and that. So then person number 2 starts really understanding where does this need or craving is coming from and how it's connected.
And maybe not taking it so personally.
Right? And being kind of more clear that it's not just, that you kind of imagined and you're just asking for it for no reason. No. Because he or she sees that there is a deep reason.
And I do feel like a lot of times with couples, I know in my last long-term relationship, a lot of what we did was we very much internalized each other's stuff. So without that understanding that I think this method brings, what we would do is be very hurt by the other person's behavior and take it on and be very offended. And then when you're in that state, you just have to fight back. And where does that go? Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Right? It's just how people snowball into divorce.
Yeah, not productive at all.
Yeah. Oh, I love this method. I mean, even just that little bit, I can see how that, absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful, you know, and sometimes people, but why do you always keep asking me about my childhood? Like, what does it have to do with my childhood? But it
has everything to do with it, right?
And people see it,
Yeah. Who was it? Freud, who first sort of touched on the idea that it's our childhood that we have to look at, but it's absolutely true. Like, I feel like all the effective modalities for digging into this stuff has to do with what was your early experiences.
Life experience,
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this question. Speaking of our childhoods,
sure.
How much does your relationship with your mother influence what you do now? And what has been your sort of trajectory with your relationship with your mother? This is where it starts to get personal. Everybody. Hi, Joey and Amy, and Janie Lynn says hi. Jamie's on.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, sweetheart.
So my relationship with my mom, I always thought it was good, but I always felt like it was not enough because I had a little brother who was born when I was 5, and he got sick when he was age 2, and my mom spent with him years and years in the hospitals, multiple surgeries, and was not really available. So grandma was more involved, father. So it's complex. But now, whenever we both could create those moments or days, or sometimes a few days of giving this undivided attention to each other, it's definitely is a very healing process.
Yeah. And have you, because I know it can be a very slippery slope when you do any sort of growth work and incorporating that into your personal life, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever done the Imago method with your mom? Or do you do any of your work with your mom?
Not fully, because she's a teacher.
Okay.
She's a very good listener.
Yeah.
So she has a lot of good active listening skills and empathy and understanding. Yeah. So I was lucky with that.
So you're able to come to, It's interesting because my mom was also a teacher before she retired, and I actually didn't consider her to be someone who had good listening skills until I got much older, and I started to realize how much she actually really was listening. And I'll tell you, there was when I used to perform, I did a one-woman show years ago. I want to say in 2006 or something like that. And that's when it clicked for me, because she came to see me and she brought a couple of her sisters. So it was part of my family. And she was so supportive throughout that whole weekend that she was there, so supportive of my performance and all of that stuff. And when I was in high school, I never felt, because she was very critical when I was young, I never wanted her to come to anything. I never wanted her to be there for any of that. And she listened. If I said don't come, she wouldn't come. But I let her come and see me perform, and she was so just supportive and listening and open and understood, even though she was never really a performer. And I got to experience that with her as an adult. So I don't know why I started on this whole thing, but I look back on that and I realized that and I think this is what we often do, especially in our younger adult years, when we do have sort of resentments, or we do come from a situation where there's a lot of criticism, sometimes we miss the things that are workable and the positive things that are happening, because we're in the story of, that our parent was so horrible, or that what they did wasn't right, or it wasn't good enough.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and you made me think of that because you were talking about your mom being a good listener. Yeah, I mean, my mom is too. When she's, now she has dementia, but she had some moments where listening was not on the menu. But yeah, it's definitely something that I got to identify about her, and I'm glad that I did. Renee, hi Renee. Renee says hey, and Roy just joined us. Hi, you guys. If you guys want to join in the conversation, we're talking about the Imago method for healing relationships, specifically the mother-daughter relationship. But, we're really connecting how our parental relationship affects our romantic and intimate relationships in today. That's sort of like the flag that I wave. I really strongly believe that.
Yes.
So, let me see. Oh, the other question was, how did any of your past, you were talking about your brother having gotten sick and all of that, did any of that influence the profession that you're in now, what you chose to do?
Yeah.
as far as helping people?
I think so. Then there was some tragedy in the family, and the parental relationship became very, very challenged.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself that I never wanted to have a relationship like this, but it was like I was already age 16 at the time when it became like bad between the parents, and they didn't like the dynamic. And I kind of, I think at that point, I promised to myself that I'm going to create a relationship that will be very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that sent you down the trajectory of like, I'm going to help other people do it too.
And in Russia, like at that those years, you really didn't have too many opportunities to learn to study couples therapy. Psychology was not very popular, widely spread field at all.
Yeah.
So whenever I had a chance to come to this country to study, I automatically switched to psychology major, and then eventually got into couples therapy and enjoying it since then.
Yeah. It's so funny that you said that, because remember, we were talking before the show and I was telling Nataliyah that I have such an American stereotypical idea of Russia. So I'm imagining like Russian psychotherapy being like, drink vodka.
Which I do.
Yes, right. Drink vodka, you'll be fine.
Yes. And speak to somebody on the bus, or speak to your neighbor, and you don't need to go to see a psychologist.
Yeah. It's interesting how different cultures, because Black American culture, I feel like we also, when it comes to therapy and asking people for help and talking about your emotions, it's also it can be very taboo in our culture, especially, older generations.
Yeah.
Just the fact that my parents at any time did any sort of therapy is huge, in a Black American family. And,
I still wish my mom would go and do some therapy to all of her trauma, her childhood trauma, but it's almost pretty much nowhere to go if you're from a smaller town.
Yeah. There's no...
Unless it's like St. Petersburg or Moscow, not too many options.
Really?
To see a psychologist.
Yeah, I believe it. I feel like it's probably kind of similar here. I feel like it's maybe more widespread here than it was 20 years ago, but, my parents live in kind of a small town too. And if they find them, they're not that great.
Yeah.
They haven't really...
There was like sensitive issues. And me doing trauma work myself, like I know how important is that to have like a very, very skilled person who could deal with your trauma, or even in couples therapy.
Yeah.
Like I cannot just give a referral sometimes when I have friends in other states to easily send to a good person, because it's very hard, let's say, to find somebody in Tennessee for my girlfriend.
Yeah. I feel like I always say our generation is the therapy generation. I feel like I'm Generation X. I'm assuming you are too. I feel like we're close in age. And I feel like it's very much, we're the first who kind of opened up to the idea that it's valuable, that it's worthwhile. And then any generation after us, it's like they're born knowing they're going to go at some point. Right? It's like part of growing up. This is what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Giselle, who just joined us. She was my guest last week. Hi, honey. What was my other question? So what is already, like, you've actually answered a lot of my questions in the course of the conversation, because one of my questions was going to be what is something that you wish for on behalf of your mom? And then you mentioned
on behalf of my mom?
Yeah, well, you said that you mentioned that you wish that she, would have some therapy or have that kind of work. Yes. But what's something else that you...
On behalf of my mom, that she would experience, that she would get?
Yeah, something that you just wish for her.
Oh, probably just more time with me.
Yeah.
Because, she lives across the ocean, and it's very hard for her not to celebrate with me many family holidays, just to not having me living on around the corner to come and visit.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging. But she's coming over for a few months right now to visit, so hopefully we could address that need.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Meet that need.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. You can get a lot done in a few months.
Yes.
So do you feel like are there any major ways that she influenced your love life?
My love life. I left my house when I was age 16.
Okay.
We finished high school sooner than in this country. And I was on my own from age 16, so not too much. And my mom was very conservative and much less conservative, so I don't think she influenced it too much.
Yeah. But what are some ways for you that it should? I mean, I know for me, like hi Kenya, hi honey. My last relationship, I very much realized it was a very healing relationship, even though it was a very volatile and abusive, my last long-term relationship, an abusive relationship. But what I got to recognize was how much of unworkable behavior that I had learned from my mother, and also how much the person that I chose was like you said, both my mother and my father. Mm-hmm. But, I got to learn a lot from that relationship. Was there any, like, in the course of your relationship experience, where did it show up for you? Like we were talking
Actually,
about?
you know what? Like now, I never thought about it, but so I picked a man currently who is very much into literature, into poetry, and my mom is a teacher of Russian language and literature.
Yeah.
And who is very romantic, also similar to my mom, probably, I would say. Very kind and generous, similar to my mom. So I guess she did influence my love choice. I never thought about it. Myself, but
it's good because they can influence it positively,
yes.
as well, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that's wonderful. All right, now you
I'm gonna tell her how she positively influenced my love life.
Right? She'll be happy to know that.
Yeah, totally. She'll be excited.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you have a child. Do you have a daughter or a son?
A son.
If you had a daughter, what would you want her to know?
About
just on the theme of mother-daughter.
Mother-daughter relationship.
Yeah. What are some things that you feel like, or something that comes to mind that you feel like you'd want to teach her? I feel like the mother-son relationship is also very, very pivotal. But, in a different way. I feel like we could do a whole theme on that, too. But if you had a daughter, because I always feel like there's a lot of people out there listening who are mothers of daughters and mothers of young daughters. And a lot of times we talk about things like rites of passage. Like, I feel like it's very important. And in a lot of cultures, there's ceremonies for it, right? Like you might have a bat mitzvah, or you might have a baptism or a quinceanera, or, sweet 16, whatever. Like different families, different cultures have different ways to sort of womanize a female child, right?
Yes.
So, one of the things I think is very important, I'm not a parent, I'm not giving anyone parenting advice, but I do think it's very important that mothers are willing to let their daughters know that I see you as an individual, an individual woman on your own.
Yes.
So I always say, like,
as capable, as independent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you feel like that would be the thing that you'd want to impart?
Definitely. And also because, I come from the culture where women are usually rather feminine.
Yeah.
I always fantasize, how I would dress up my daughter if I had a daughter, because there's so many more options than for the boys.
Yeah.
To make it look really girly and really feminine.
Yeah, no, totally. That's so funny. That was a big thing in my family. This is why, the bald head doesn't necessarily go over well, at least not the first couple of times. The girly feminine thing, and we don't have a lot of, in the next generation of my family, have a lot of nephews.
Yeah. And
so that was a thing for us, because we were always, it was just me and my two sisters. So, everything in the house was girly. The only thing that was male was my father. Even the dog was a girl. So, that was a big thing.
A lot of female energy.
Yeah, a lot of female energy and the fun of all of that, but there's a lot that comes along with all of that too.
Yeah.
Right? I see Robert joined us. Hi, Robert. All right. Well, I think this was great. This was very fun. Thank you for sharing with us the Imago method.
Sure.
Yeah.
With a little glimpse.
Yeah. I really think, even just in that little glimpse, I could see how it's really effective. I love the idea of presencing and getting people present, and also giving people an opportunity to understand it. Because I think, what it all really comes down to, first, understanding of self, right? But just being willing to, because I always say, don't get in a relationship unless you want to give, unless you want to be a listener, unless you want to be someone who fills yourself up and overflows. But I feel like so many of us get in relationships with what we want to take and what we need, right? And what I love is that just in the little bit that you explained about the Imago method is that there is a space for learning empathy and learning how to listen to your partner. If nothing else, everybody, that's one of the most important things. Listening is not just pretending and sitting and waiting quietly so you can talk. It's actually, and like you said, understanding without, you may not agree, you may not see it the same way.
But before I can express that understanding, and then you get to your own point of view.
Yeah.
Because if we want to express our point of view like too quickly right away, then we could miss another person and not fully get the perspective she or he is trying to express.
Absolutely.
So really like slowing down and being patient with each other. And we teach also how to create a conscious relationship, not just like automatic relationship, you just roll with it, whatever it is, but how to really understand what it consists of, what it depends of, how it blossoms, and being intentional in that relationship.
I love that word, intentional.
Yes.
That's one of my favorite words.
I love it too.
Right?
But they believe in it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's a Confucius, or if it's just a Buddhist saying, seek first to understand, then to be understood.
I don't remember.
But that's basically what we're talking about here, right? It's like slow down, get present, and just be willing to understand the other person if you want to have things. Even when it's the mother-daughter relationship. And for those of us who have had any sort of trauma in our mother-daughter relationship, that can be very challenging. But I feel like, a method like this could be very effective.
Yeah.
I want you to let everybody know how they can find you, how they can work with you, what avenues you want them to take.
Sure.
If they're interested in doing this method.
Sure, definitely. So I practice in 2 states. Currently, I work in New York City at Union Square. Mm-hmm. And I also see clients in Hoboken and in Montclair in the state of New Jersey. My website is called Key to Connection. So it's the word key, number 2, the word connection.com.
Which we'll put in the comments too below on Facebook Live.
Yes, Key to Connection. And another way to connect with me is 917-495-4989. And the name is Nataliyah Rusetskaya.
Yay. Thank you so much, Nataliyah. We still have some time, to kind of but I do want to, thank you, Avon. Avon says we have 10, which means for Armed Radio, we probably have about 9. Okay. I do want to have anybody who's on the Facebook Live, if you want to ask any questions, or if you want to, you have any comments. Sometimes people like to shout out or say things, or, if something came up for you during the course of this show, or there's something that you're now thinking about that's on your mind, please, by all means, leave us a comment, say whatever, because we have a little bit of time. And otherwise, definitely get in touch with Dr. Nataliyah. I'm going to put your website link in the comments so everybody knows how to get to you. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Now, also, on the other side of things, if you've unpacked all your stuff and, you're with your mother-daughter relationship, if you've had a lot of mama trauma, and you've done some therapy around it, and you feel like you're aware of what it is, and you're not in a story of right and wrong, and wanting to beat somebody up behind it, and you're ready to take some action steps. My Epic Intensive is coming up. I have 12 spots that I'm filling. They're starting to fill up, and you definitely want to be able to get one. So if you're an abused daughter who's raised by an abused daughter, coming up, registration for the Epic Intensive opens up this month. EPIC stands for Empowering Practices for Intimate Connections, and the focus will be Get Right with Mom for the sake of your love life. We're turning stressed out or abused daughters into epic women, so if you think your lifelong with your relationship may be negatively impacting your love life, because here's the thing, I don't know if you agree, Dr. Nataliyah, but I feel like a lot of times we can learn methods and we can learn concepts of how things could be, but the application of them and actually taking action and showing up differently in our lives is a whole different story.
Yeah. And this stuff that I'm practicing with couples, it's going to work only if you do it at home as well with your loved ones. Otherwise, it's going to be just theory, unapplied.
I love anything that has people galvanized. You know what I mean? Because I've done different things, and I absolutely love doing therapy. I loved being in a situation where we could talk about it and get it all out, because I think that's very important. The therapy that I actually had wasn't as interactive at home.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong, because it didn't take anything away from it. It was great to be able to have the healing conversations and to be able to put names on things.
With your mom?
Huh?
With your mom, you mean, or?
Well, I mean, she came up, mainly it was around the relationship that I was in. things about my mom came up. There was a lot of healing that happened with just even being able to open up to the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah, which I hadn't been doing before. So I think that's very important. But I love that you're doing a mode that actually has people in action at home, because I think it's so important to be able to apply things at home. And I always say, like, Maya Angelou has that saying, when you know better, you do better. And my mentor, she always says that's not necessarily true. Like, sometimes we know better, we know that there's other possibilities, and we don't necessarily know how to apply it, or we don't necessarily apply it. So I think anything that actually teaches you something that you're doing at home also, that you have to take with you, exercises, things like that, I'm a big proponent of that. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's nice to hear about it, but then what?
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just talking and unpacking it. Yeah. And not a lot of. And then also, I feel like we can be under the impact of something and not even like, with forgiveness. I feel like forgiveness is something you can do where you say, okay, I forgive this person, and I'm not mad at this person. But especially when it comes to our parents, that doesn't mean that we alter our behavior. So whatever happened to me made me feel a certain way. Let's say. My father was a cheater. So if my father was a cheater and I developed an idea at 12 years old that all men cheat, I may forgive my father and be fine with him at some point, but I still believe that all men cheat. So that's what's showing up in my life, right?
Yeah,
I feel like
you have high probability of getting into the relationship where there will be infidelity and still dealing with that infidelity yourself.
Yeah. So I feel like that's why it's so important to understand not just knowing it.
Yeah.
Because we all know this conversation, we all know this language, but how often are we actually applying what we know, right? And so that's also what my, total segue, that's also what my intensive is about. If you want to heal or master the skills to create healthy relationships and galvanize and start all over from a clean slate and attract the ultimate love of your life, there's a link on my business page. I'm also going to put a link in the comments for the Epic Intensive if you want to do that. You can follow me on Instagram at Candy Love Coach. Also, just for announcements, I want you guys to know, anybody out there, I'm on the lookout for speaking opportunities for free. I want to do as a contribution. So, domestic violence shelters, if you work with, young women, like I'm doing, talks on self-esteem and self-acceptance and things like that. So let me know what you're up to and what you're affiliated with. And, I'll come and talk to people about.
Oh, and can I make also one more announcement?
Yes.
Since we have a couple more minutes. I just realized that you had a guest, I think last week or a couple of weeks ago, Jamie McCoppin.
Yeah, 3 weeks ago, my James.
Yeah. So we're working together now, and we created a workshop for couples and for singles. It's called Healing Love.
Oh, yeah. Why did you plug that? Tell us.
Yes. So it's going to be, I don't remember the date right now. It's the end of October.
Okay.
And we will post the location like in a couple of days. And it will be combined, and we'll be teaching people how to use the art of erotic communication, how to talk easier with your loved ones about sex, sexuality. We'll be speaking about sexual vitality. And Jamie will be showing her drama therapy approach within this group and how it could be applicable to be more playful in the relationship.
Yes, Jamie teaches play. You guys who've been on the show and been watching, you guys know Jamie, and she's amazing. And now you know Dr. Natalya, and she's amazing. So I highly recommend.
So we'll post it on my Facebook page, Dr. Nataliyah Rusetskaya, and on other venues that Jamie has.
I love it. And Jamie also, she's chiming in. She says, Healing Love.
Healing Love. Healing Love. That will be the name.
Okay. And she said it's on October 26th.
Yes. Thank you, Jamie.
Awesome. So we'll definitely make sure that there's links so you can get into that too.
Yes.
And, I think that's it. Do you have anything else, Dr. Natalya, that you want to be the takeaway? Anything that you want to share with the people before we... I see Desiree joined. Hi, Desiree.
Well, I spoke to my mom briefly today over the phone, and they said that I will be doing this type of interview. And she said, I think her take was just briefly, like she said, like it's very important to really treat our mothers like gently, respectfully, and just value them for giving us life.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that too, because I feel like, and we haven't done that show yet, but during the course of this season, I do want to do an honoring show, because we talked about this a couple shows ago about how I feel like culturally we sometimes put mothers on a pedestal that causes expectation that's unhealthy. But I think there is that balance between understanding and honoring the woman who gave you life and not putting expectations on her that are just so high for any human being to meet. So I think that's something we'll probably touch upon. I love that you brought that up.
Because our mothers often just did their best. Right?
Yes, with whatever they knew.
Good enough mothers the best way they could.
Yeah, no rule book.
Yeah. And if they were hurt in the past, that sometimes they didn't know any better to give to us.
No, I agree. This was so much fun, Dr. Natalya.
Yes, it was very different for me.
Was it?
Spoke about mothers live.
Did you have a good time? Did you feel tell the truth? How'd you feel? You feel okay?
Yes. I feel like a little bit overwhelmed, but it's a good overwhelmed feeling.
Oh, good.
It feels good, even today, in my thoughts and my feelings, to connect more with my mom, and I even had a few moments before our beginning of the podcast to sit down in the coffee shop and to write a little bit in my journal about it, so to connect more with this whole idea of how I am with my mom and about that relationship. It was very pleasant, actually.
I love that. Ever since I started this series, it inspires me in the beginning of the week to make sure I connect with my mom. So yeah, hopefully we're doing that for you guys too out there. You want to connect with your moms. What's going on, Avon? We got 2 minutes, 1 minute with Armed Radio probably. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Everybody on the Facebook.
Thank you for listening.
Right? Lewis, who just joined. What's up, honey? Kenya, everybody who joined us, you can come back and watch the replay. And also, we're going to at some point be on the YouTube. I have to edit it down. It takes me forever. I'm trying to catch up. Oh, Armed Radio just indicated right? You guys get here. We get a little signal. Wake up. That's what Armed Radio says. So Armed Radio people, until next time, never forget that you are a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for candy. And Facebook Live people, thank you so much for being here. I love you for checking in with us. It was so much fun, as it always is. And Dr. Natalya, thank you so much. It was fantastic. And thank you also for coming in at the last minute, because usually I get guests a couple weeks in advance. Dr. Natalya, 3 days in advance on the ball, and we got it here. All right. Thank you, my love. It was a pleasure.
It was a pleasure. And goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Bye. Jamie says, love you both. Love you too, honey. All right. Now we...